Welcome back to Lumify. In this video, we're going to talk about dashboards and the cards that are available to you to customize on your own personalized dashboard. Every user within Lumify gets their own dashboard, and you can use those dashboards and the cards on that dashboard to build out actionable insights that you can use right away. Let's get started. Now, this is the dashboard you'll be greeted with when you first sign up for Lumify. It's pretty much a blank slate. But let's go ahead and dig in and see how we can customize this to our liking. The first thing we might want to do is update these social cards. It's pretty much the easiest card that we can update. To do that, go to the bottom right of your dashboard where it says Edit Dashboard and click that. And you can hit the little pen icons that show up next to each of these cards. For the social cards, you can just update the social username. For example, on Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, or Mixcloud, you can update the username to, for example, let's make it Google. And we'll see that that will update right there. We can do the same thing for Instagram. And we'll see that update as well. One note about Instagram is make sure you're using a business or creator account for Instagram. There are some privacy settings that'll limit your ability to use a personal or private account to get the follower count for Instagram. Okay. While we're making those edits, you might have seen that the total invoices due updated. The dashboard is cached, updates about every 5 minutes. But as you're making changes to your dashboard, you'll see that numbers might start updating, might start changing. Because as you're updating, the cache is refreshed every time you make a change and you save your dashboard. So moving on from the social cards, the next easiest sort of widget that you can work on is the notes widget. The notes widget allows you to have sort of handy items at the ready. You can include links. You can include images. Something that a lot of people will do is they'll have a link to maybe their website, maybe a link to their contact form, maybe a link to their email. You can put a lot of handy things in here. Maybe you can put a small sort of short to-do list in here. But this can really be anything that you want. There is a setting in here that I like to highlight called Enable Padding. And what that allows you to do is hide the padding that shows up around this notes widget. So let's take a quick look at how that might work. Let's delete this content here. And let's add an image. We're just going to upload an image. This is a sample image here. Upload. There you go. Hit apply. There you go. We got an image in there now. And what we can do is when we turn off that enable padding, and you know what? Let's turn off the show title as well. And when we hit save, you'll see that the entire card is taken up by that image. And you'll see what happens if we turn padding back on. You'll see that it's sort of inset. And if we turn back that title on, now you got a title. That title is fully customizable, so you can say whatever you want. And it's fully customizable. The next one here is a calendar widget. So the calendar widget can be adjusted to different column widths. Actually, that's true for all of the different cards that we have here. The column widths allow you to adjust the width of each card. So for example, if I chose 4 columns, it'll be a little bit wider. If I chose 3 columns, it'll be a little bit less wide. There's a total of 12 columns sort of virtually placed across the width of your dashboard. And you can imagine it as if a card can take up 12 columns, it could take up 3 columns, or any sort of fraction thereof. So really quickly back to the calendar. What the calendar will show you is any events that you have upcoming. It'll allow you to quickly look at the dates on that calendar and kind of scroll through. If you click on any date, it'll take you directly to your calendar. You can see any appointments that might be there. Let's head back to our dashboard. All right, the next card that we want to look at is going to be the table card. The table card allows you to do a couple different things. You can look at your invoices or your events, and you can add conditions, certain conditions, on that table. So only certain events or certain invoices will show up on that table. And we'll talk about conditions in just a second. But really quickly for the table widget, you have the ability to adjust what columns you want to be visible. So for example, if you only want to see the title of any upcoming events, you can just update the columns to title only, hit save, and you'll see that, let's add an event here. Let's go in here. Let's add an event within the next 2 weeks from today, which would be sometime, in February. Do that. Save that. And like I mentioned, the widgets on your dashboard are cached to sort of speed things up. But what you can do to refresh your cache, go to Edit and hit Save, and that'll force the dashboard to update. So you'll see that event is there now. And we can add the date, we can add the type, and we can add the status for events. It's looking a little bit too small, so let's make this a little bit wider. We got 5 or maybe 6 columns. There you go. Now you can see all the information about upcoming events within the next 2 weeks. And the way that we're filtering the next 2 weeks there is with these conditions, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The next thing I want to show you guys is the ability to click and drag your widgets on your dashboard. All you have to do is click on a widget on your dashboard and drag it over, and it'll move. And your dashboard is updating constantly. It'll save without you having to push a save button, anything like that. So if you refresh right now, you'll see that dashboard is stuck there. We can move it one more time. Nice. So let's talk a little bit about conditions before we move on. And where I want to do that is on these value cards. This type of card that you see here with just a number or a dollar amount is what's called a value card. And so if we edit this, you'll see that there's a couple different types of conditions that you can add to this. You can add a period. So you can say anytime between 1 week ago and today, for example. That is a type of condition because you're conditioning the results of this card based on the period of time that you specify. Instead of using these merge tags, which are special merge tags for cards on the dashboard, you can also use just dates. The date format here is going to be year. So let's say 2020, the month, so January, and the day. So it'll be 2020, January 1. And that's the format that these cards need for these sort of conditions. So if we do that, and let's update this period end to 2025. So that would be a 5-year period between the period start and the period end. Let's hit save. And there you go. We didn't really see an update there because there aren't any old invoices. I'm in a demo account here. There's only 2 invoices. But you'll see that math, 4650, is exactly what we need based on the invoices that are due. Next up in the conditions that we want to pay attention to is this section here. Similar to our automations, if you've seen that automation video, you can condition the result of the value that is returned on this card. So in this case, we're looking at invoices, but we can really change that to payments or events. In this case, we're looking at invoices. And we're going to get all of the invoices where the invoice is not canceled. So where the canceled at field is equal to null, meaning there's no value there and it's not canceled. Also, where the invoice sent at is not equal to null. And where the invoice paid in full is also equal to null, meaning it's an outstanding invoice. When you're choosing conditions, you get a full listing of the fields that are available for each of the models that you're working with. The models are, like, for example, here, an invoice, a payment, an event. And you get all of the different fields that are available on that model. So for example, we could add another condition here that says where the due at is greater than, and in this case, we can also use a field here. We could say greater than today. So these are total invoices due in the future, if you wanted to do that. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. So I want to show you guys some other types of conditions that we can add. You can also add a where date condition, and that's specifically looking at dates, and you should be careful to use only dates with the where date condition. You can also do a where date based on a relative time period. So what this looks like is where the date of the due date is greater than 2 days away. And that might be helpful for limiting events. And that, you know what, let's actually go back really quick on this event table here. What we can do is use the where date end days on this event table to filter events that are less than 14 days away. So recent events or upcoming recent events. All right, let's go back into that. Another type of condition is a where relation. And sometimes you might want to query on something that is related to an invoice. So if you add a condition and you use the where relation, you'll get all of the things that are related to an invoice. For example, events are related to invoices. Bill to, the person that you're sending the invoice to, is related to the invoice. And sometimes you might have a contract related to that invoice. So for example, if we wanted to query invoices where the event, let's say date is greater than, I don't know, let's make something hard here, 2025-01-01. What we should see is this total invoices due should turn to 0, ideally, because there shouldn't be any invoices due that far into the future. Cool. If we remove that, we'll see that invoices due will come back properly. There you go. The final type of condition that I wanted to show here was the or where group. What the or where group does is allow you to use a different type of logic when building your conditions. These 3 conditions that are here right now are cumulative, meaning the invoice canceled at has to be equal to null, and the sent at has to be not equal to null, and the paid in full has to be equal to null. If any one of those are untrue, this condition will fail. But what you could do is use an or where group that'll allow you to basically or all of the conditions. So you can switch cancel that is equal to null, or sent at is not equal to null, or paid in full is equal to null. And so what that looks like is we put an or where group, we add a condition, and you get the same options here. So you can say where the contract ID is not equal to null. And this also should show us a 0 result. I don't think there's any invoices here that are related to contracts. Yep. But what we can do, just to really quickly test this out, is make some of these related to contracts. Let's build a quick contract here. Let's create a contract. All right. Let's wait for those events to load there. There you go. And I'm going to mark this as sent, and then we can work on this in the invoices. So let's now use that contract on this invoice as the source. And what we'll see is on our dashboard, things will start updating. Let's make sure it's saved. Cool. And let's go back to our dashboard. And remember, we have to refresh this. So let's quickly edit this, hit save. And there you go. We see that one invoice because there is a contract. And just as a reminder, the condition that we use there is an or where condition with this condition where invoice contract ID is not equal to null. Cool. These value cards also have what are called methods. The method allows you to do some action on the result of this sort of search or this query. You can sum up, you can add up all of the results. You can count all of the results. You can average all of the results. You can get the maximum number of all of those results, and you can also get the minimum number of all of those results. The dimension that you see here is the field that you're going to use to sum up, to average out, or to count. For count, you can use really any field. But for some, you really want to use a number field. And finally, this format here allows you to flip between currencies and numbers. If you switch the number here, you'll see that it'll be the same thing, just without the $sign. And that'll format to your specific local currency. Let's take a look at another type of card here for values, where we're looking at events. So in this case, the period is starting from today and looking into the future. We're looking at upcoming events. So starting from today and into the future, really forever, that 999 is really a very far date. And what we're also looking at here is where the event status ID is equal to 3. And there's actually another way that we can do that. So what this number 3 is actually confirmed events. I just happen to know that. But what we can do is we could swap this to where relation, event status label. And I like to use contains here when we're talking about words. But when it's label contains confirmed, and that will get us the same result. Instead of using number 3, the ID number 3, we're using the word confirmed because that's more sort of human readable. And the other thing that we're looking at is where the event date is greater than or equal to today. So it's a future event. And actually that's sort of unnecessary because we already have the period start set to today. And then the next thing here is we're using the count method, and we can really choose any field here. For count, like I said, it doesn't really matter. We can use title there. And this is a number. So we're just getting a count of all of the upcoming events. When we hit save here, you'll see that we have one upcoming event. Let's go ahead and do something here just to prove that that's working. Let's update this prospect event to confirmed. And let's also move this date. Oh, it's already there. So it's already within 2 weeks. So let's hit save. Go back to our dashboard. Remember, we have to refresh this. It's every 5 minutes. It's going to be refreshing automatically. But when you're working on it, you kind of want to see those instant results. So we go into this and just hit save. No changes necessary. Just hit save. We should see that update to 2. And there you go. Similar thing here. Not going to spend too much time on completed events, but the logic is the same. What we're looking at is the event status, and it's less than today. Again, this number 3 is equal to confirmed events. You can change the logic of that to your liking. Great. So this last one here is we're going to look at the payments model. We already looked at invoices. We already looked at events. We're looking at payments now. Similar thing, period start is the first of the year. We're looking at year-to-date revenue. So the period start would be the first of the year, and the period end would be today. You can also do end of year, which I think is a field here. So you can say end of year because we're looking at year-to-date revenue. And there's really no conditions here. What we're looking at is summing up. We're adding up all of the amount captured. The difference between amount and amount captured, you might be wondering that. Amount captured takes the amount minus the amount refunded. So if you have any refunds on any of your payments, this will get you a more accurate number. And that'll be your year-to-date revenue. And this is currency, hit save. We don't have any payments, but let's just create a quick payment here. We can see that working. So $200, we got paid by check. Put a date in there, save. Go to our dashboard. Remember, we got to refresh this. Okay. We should see 200 pop up here. There you go. We also saw 200 pop up on month-to-date revenue. Same logic applies. We could switch today to be end of month if we really wanted to, but today works as well. And same thing, we're taking the sum of the amount captured. All right, the last one here is going to be the most powerful card that you're going to use. Gives you really good insights into historical trends. It's the chart. So this chart here allows you to look at your events. We can take a count of all of your events, a total of expenses, or a total of payments. Let's look at count of events first. So we're going to go back 1 year ago as part of the period. And we're going to end at, let's actually just say end of the year, right? Because we have a couple events here that are in the future. So let's do end of the year here. And the conditions that we have, again, we're using an or group, an or where group. And the conditions in that or where group are where the event status label is equal to confirmed, or where the event status label is equal to pending. If any of those two are true, they'll show up on this chart and they'll get populated to give you a visual of the count of events. Let's go ahead and save and see what happens. There you go. So now we can see those two events. There's a couple other options here. We can change this to a line chart if that's something that you prefer. Now you can see that there's a line chart. And this will really show you trends over time based on the period that you set here on period start and period end. Okay, great. That's a really introductory video on building your dashboards. There are a ton of features that you can use here and a lot of capability to get really meaningful and actionable insights. I encourage you to share your favorite cards on the support forums on support.lumifylabs.com. If you have questions on how to use cards or how to build a specific card, or you want a specific attribute available to condition on, you can leave a note in the support forum, or you can leave a note down in the comments of this video. We'll see you in the next one.